Good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of On the Infield. We're coming to you from Speedway City, where we're having the running of the JD Couriers Super Sedan Fireball Derby. Tonight we have around 15 of South Australia's and Western Australia's best Super Sedans set to contest tonight's 30-lap A main. So before that, of course, we've got all the heat action. They'll be coming to you very shortly on the Infield, so please sit back and enjoy the Super Sedans from the Speedway City Fireball Derby.
Heat number one now, the Super Sedan, 10 laps up on the count, the front row rubbing wheels as they come out of turn number 4 to take the green. The front row is the 69 of Andrew Leach and the 38 of Tony Howard. In fact, we're going to have a caution, so a restart this time. Andrew Leach and the 38 of Tony Howard on the front as we go green. Once again, the 47 of Steve Stewart around the outside. He'll take over the second spot. And look at the number 2 also, Danny Miller, as he charges to the inside now with the 47 down through turn number 3 and 4. And Dan Miller, the big mover here, is the current Speedway City track champion. Oh, he spun it down there in turn number 4. He'll go to the tail of the pack. Right luck there for Dan Miller. Their leader is still the 38 of Tony Howard. As we have a look at the battle there between the 5 of Trevor Ware and the 69 of Andrew Leach out of Anguston in the Barossa Valley. As we cross back to our leaders, it's Tony Howard, car number 38 of the Ford Thunderbird. The Angle Vale pilot leading the 47 of Steve Stewart, a 6-time South Australian Super Sedan champion. And have a look at him as he closes in on the back of our race leader. As he heads down the back chute, down towards turn number 3 and 4 in front of the big Speedway City time clock there in the middle of 3 and 4. Oh, Howard's very loose coming out of turn 4 and he's looped it. Very similar spot to the number 2 of Dan Miller, spun earlier in this one. Hopefully Howard can get the car back underway and continue, albeit at the back of the pack. So the new leader is the 47. In fact, no, the caution lights come out. So on the restart, Steve Stewart will lead away. In the second spot is Trevor Ware, then the 69 machine of Andrew Leach, then the 18 of Steve Johnson in the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. As they charge down the back chute, our leader is still in the Holden Monaro. Steve Stewart in the 47 machine. He got a bit of a push there. The car just didn't want to turn. On the exit of turn number 4, as we look further back, a bit of a rough and ready ride there from the 34 of Kim Layson. In behind him is car number 15, the former Australian Super Sedan Chris Blunden, making a return to Super Sedan racing this season. Our leader is Steve Stewart. He is checking out here in the second spot. It's the 5 of Trevor Ware. There's the 34 of Kim Layson. In behind him is the 2 of Danny Miller. There's a nice in shot of the 5 of Trevor Ware, you may remember. In round number 2 of the JD Courier Series, that car ended up upside down. Coming out of turn number 4, good to see him back here this evening. As they charge down the back chute one more time into 3 and 4. It is still Steve Stewart. The field pretty strung out here as we look back at the 15 of Chris Blunden and the 34 of Kim Layson. So one of the cars has cut through the infield there, a bit of dust. In the middle of turn number 3 and 4, there's the 38 of Tony Howard and the 2 of Danny Miller at the back of the pack. Both those two cars, of course, spinning out earlier, so they've been relegated to the tail as Miller tries to fight back in his Pontiac Grand Prix. Tries to look up the inside of the 15 of Chris Blunden, smartly turned out race car. Oh, Blunden had a big mistake there. The car copped a big push and he exited turn number 4. As a result, the number 2 of Danny Miller has slid by. This one, of course, a 10-lap journey. Steve Stewart a long way out in front as we see now Danny Miller trying to cut a pass on the 34 of Kim Layson in turn number 3. Just picked up a bit of dust there from the infield. As you can see, he's thrown it high into the air there in turn number 3. But the checkered flag will come out for Steve Stewart. A long way back in the second spot is Trevor Ware in car number 5. And third across the line, the 69 of Andrew Leach. Heat number 2 now, the Fireball Derby here from Speedway City. On the front row, out of Manham, it's the 71 of Colin Neville. Alongside him is Shane Best in car number 32. And Best got the best of the start. Out of turn number 2, and he'll lead them into 3 and 4 for the first time. Have a look there on the inside. Car number 9, they're out of Western Australia. Campbell Aylett puts a pass on his good buddy there, the South Aussie number 1 of Bill Miller. So Campbell Aylett, the Western Australian, has made his way down here to Adelaide after last weekend's Australian Super Sedan Championship at Mildura. Decided to pick up an extra event before heading home to WA. Through turn number 3 and 1 and 2 they run. There's the 9 of Campbell Aylan. Oh, Bill Miller's got a problem in car number 1. He is slowing up on the top side of the racetrack and he's falling right to the back. So it's Shane Best, then it's Campbell Aylan in car number 9. Then it's the 71 of Colin Neville. Then there's the 87 of Robbie March in the back of the pack there. In car number 25, it's a sprint car driver out of Brisbane, former Northern Territorian, Danny Reedy. As we have a look at Reedy coming out through turn number 4, a guest drive tonight in Ken Scott's Super Sedan, also competing tonight in the sprint car rank. So Danny Reedy be very busy, but tonight, well, at the moment, concentrating on the Super Sedan. Through turn number 1 and 2, they run in. Campbell Aylan now is closed right in on the rookie in car number 32. That's Shane Best, of course, Best, former Australian number 2 in modified sedan competition, and also a former South Aussie champion in that class, stepping up this season in the ex-Peter Load machine. Through turn number 1 and 2, past the George Tatnell stand. Down the back street, the family stand, also packed to capacity tonight. Through down 3 and 4. The track looking in absolutely perfect condition. As we see now, Campbell Aylan still sitting back there, is right on the boot lid of the 32 as they head down through turn number 1 and 2. Once again, down the back straight. Have a look at the big lick of flames out the side of both cars. Bit of unburned fuel in the header pipes as they got off the gas there in turn number 3. The track really is starting to look very good. You can see a bit of an outside groove now coming into play. There's Robbie Marchant, the veteran, in the 87 machine, making a return to Super Sedan racing tonight. And Danny Reedy, the Northern Territorian, or the Brisbane-based driver, former Northern Territorian in the Ken Scott number 25 at the back of the pack. Also good to see the number 1 machine of Bill Miller back on the pace after his earlier altercation, where the car looked like it would take no further part in this one, as he puts a pass there on Danny Reedy in turn number 3 and 4. Oh, contact there between Best and Reedy, and Best tried to put him a lap down, but the checkered flag is out. Shane Best will take the win, Campbell Aylan second, and third will go to Colin Crash Neville in the 71. Tucked in there. A long-time campaigner around this particular venue. As we have a look now at the 15 of Chris Blunden, trying to put the move on the 34 of Kim Layson. In fact, Chris Blunden won his Australian Super Sedan title right here in 1984. He's been a long-time veteran driver, driven for quite a few car owners over the last few years, but this year has decided to purchase his own race car in conjunction with his father. So the Blunden racing team back as one of the forces here in South Australian Super Sedan racing. As we look further back, there's Trevor Ware cutting a pass on the 38 of Tony Howlett. And at the back of the pack there, the 69 of Andrew Leach. There's the 18, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo, driven by Steve Johnson. Johnny, one of the real likeable characters of the Super Sedan paddock. There's the 15 of Chris Blunden, down the back straight away. Very smartly turned out race car. Expert Vosbergen machine out of WA. There's the 18 of Jono. There's the 5 of Trevor Ware. A bit of bodywork now flapping on the back of the Pontiac Grand Prix as it heads down past the George Tatnell stand there in turn number 2. As we look back at the battle for second and third. The 15 of Blunden and the 47 of Steve Stewart. Our leader is still the 2 of Danny Miller. Only in his second season of racing, but he's already won the track championship here and is looking to win the inaugural JD Couriers 5-all Derby here this evening. Through turn number 1 and 2 they run. There's the 47 of Steve Stewart in the low chassis with the Holden Monaro body on the top. Can't remember a race car ever in Steve Stewart's career that wasn't black. that always carries that familiar number 47, except for, of course, when he was the state champion with car number 1 firmly on the door of his black race car. Out of turn number 4, he continues to run the veteran. In fact, these two drivers, both pretty well veterans of the Super Sedan class here in this state. As we look further back, good little dice there at the tail of the field between Trevor Ware. In fact, nice as 34 of Kim Layson and the 69 of Andrew Leach. As a checkered flag comes out to Danny Miller in car number 2. Second place to Steve Stewart. Third went the way of Chris Blunden as that battle continues to race. Tony Howard will just get there. And Andrew Leach just over Kim Layson in the finish. Heat number 4 now of the Fireball Derby. A slightly depleted field here of just 5. Billy the Kid on the front row along with Campbell Ayler, the West Aussie, in car number 9. Side by side down the back chute, and Campbell Ayler will take over the race lead. Down through turn number 3 and 4. Ayler in the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. In the second spot, the Pontiac Grand Prix of the state champion, Billy Miller, as he goes down through turn number 2. Continue to watch this battle at the front as they race past the Speedway City time clock in turn number 3. There's the 32 of Shane Best just sitting back there in the 3rd spot. Campbell Ayler, the only driver that really stuck around after the national title, but he's putting in a great showing here at Speedway City. Out of turn number 4. Down to turn number 1 and 2. One of the classy campaigners over there in WA. Runs at the places like the Kwinana Motorplex and also Kalgoorlie and Esperance and a few of those other tracks in WA. A lot bigger racetracks than the ones we have here in South Australia. But he's adapted nicely this evening. There's the 32 of Shane Best. As we see, there's 21 of Dominic Calabro. Going a lap down, he's got a problem in his Chevrolet Monte Carlo, the metallic blue machine. So just a couple of cars, in fact 3 cars left here. As they charge down the back chute, the number 3 of the 9 of Campbell Ayler, then the 1 of Bill Miller and the 32 of Shane Best. See a bit of bodywork damage on the side of the number 1 from an earlier heat race altercation, but there's the number 9 machine. The West Aussie showing the South Aussies a clean pair of wheels here, showing the way around their home venue. Another lap down in the books. Calabro continues just to circulate on the high side of the racetrack. Try to gain as many points as possible. Down the back straight away. Campbell Ayler. Big lick of flame out the left side of the race car. Spectacular stuff here at Speedway City. The 430 metre clayway. Out of turn number 2. Once again, a nice tight-in shot there of our leader as he heads down to turn number 3 and 4. He is circulating this track at a rate of knots. Checkered flag not too far away for the West Aussie Speedster as we see Calabro finally calling it a day. They're in turn number 2. Through 3 and 4. Super Sedans really are spectacular here at Speedway City as the checkered flag comes out for Campbell Ayler, second to Billy Miller, third to Shane Best in car number 32. And in fact, we did have one other driver out there, Colin Neville in car number 71, rounds out the 4. Heat number 5 now of the Super Sedan Fireball Derby. Well, it is good to have the Fireball Derby back here at Speedway City. It's been off the calendar for about 10 years. And Wendy Turner along with John Dawson, of course, working hard to get the Super Sedans back here at Speedway City and having a premier event back on the calendar. Also Super Sedans SA working hard, of course, in conjunction with promoter here Wendy Turner and also Bob Sincock. It has been a great event so far. We've still got a 30-lap A-main coming your way as we see Danny Miller now trying to work the inside of the 47 of Steve Stewart through turn number 3 and 4. Won't get it done. Steve Stewart having a fantastic night here this evening. He really has come to play. Bases is racing these days, predominantly here at Speedway City. Doesn't travel too often. He really has got the setup worked out for this particular racetrack. Has won around about 80 or 90 Super Sedan feature race event wins. during his career at this particular venue. Also a former South Australian speed car champion. So not only a premier tin top driver, but also had a pretty good dabble at the open wheel race cars during his career as well. Out of turn number 4, it's still Steve Stewart. Danny Miller, who's a former Williams Formula 1 crew member, returning to go Super Sedan racing, returning back to Australia, I should say, to go Super Sedan racing last season. He really has taken to these cars like a duck to water. Ran competitively during the National Super Sedan Series right across the country earlier in the season, along with Shane Best and also Bill Miller. Very lucky not to claim a feature race win at Mount Gambier. Had the right rear tyre explode on him with about 3 laps to go, but he'll be looking to make amends here this evening as he heads down through turn number 1 and 2 again. But tell you what, the 5 of Trevor Ware, the former Victorian AMCA National Champion, is right there. A good tussle on the racetrack here between Steve Stewart and the 2 of Danny Miller and the 5 of Trevor Ware. In fact, Ware now looking to the inside as they head down through turn number 1 and 2. Will he get the pass to stick? Good racing here in heat number 5 of the 5-hole Derby, as they put a lap down on the 69 of Andrew Leach, who's having some sort of mechanical drama with the cars leaning on each other. Turn number 4, Steve Stewart was able to emerge the leader. Ware is still second in the 3rd spot. You see rear of the 47 as they come out of turn number 2. Good racing here from the Super Sedans at tin tops. The 360 cubic inch motors working very hard here on the racetrack, because carburetted Chevrolet power plants predominantly used in these race cars. Through turn number 3 and 4 once again, and Trevor Ware is just once again leaning on him. Out of turn number 4, close competition, and Steve Stewart will get there in a great run. Trevor Ware in 2nd, Danny Miller 3rd, Steve Johnson followed by Tony Howlett, and rounding out the field Kim Layson and the 69 of Andrew Leach. So the field is set for the 5-hole Derby 30 lap A main. We're about to go racing. Steve Stewart and Shane Best on the front row as they charge hard into turn number 1 and 2. Ken Blaylock also along with Trevor Ware in car number 5 as they head down the back straight away into turn number 3 and 4. Ken Blaylock trying to work the high side as they come out of turn number 4. Our leader is Shane Best. The 47 of Steve Stewart is in there. The 2 Danny Miller, who started out in position number 6 or so in this one after the disappointing heat race number 1 performance. He's trying to force his way forward also. But our leader is still Shane Best. Ken Blaylock trying to work the outside. Have a look at the top 5 as they come out of turn number 4. They were 3 wide. Ken Blaylock, the 47 of Stewart, and Danny Miller on the bottom. Great racing here as they head down the back straight away. Ken Blaylock, the West Aussie, working the high side. They are almost 3 wide for the lead. Down there in turn number 3 and 4, Ken Blaylock on the high side. In fact, the number 32 of Shane Best got spat out the back there in from 1st to 31 corner. As we see now Danny Miller taking over the race lead. Spectacular stuff there. We had Shane Best and then Ken Blaylock. Now our leader is the 2 of Danny Miller. They will lead the race within about half a lap. So great racing here, plenty of passing and plenty of clean racing, which is always good to see. As they go down through turn number 1 and 2, there's the 5 of Trevor Ware with the 47 of Steve Stewart. Our leader is the number 2 machine of Danny Miller, the current track champion. He had to force his way to the front as quick as he could, and he did so. Now he'll just control it out the front. A long race here, we've got 30 laps. Dan Miller just holding off the 9 of Ken Blaylock as they go down through turn number 3 and 4. One of the cars already off the pace. Looks like he could be the 18 of Steve Johnson. He must have made a slight mistake somewhere, because he wouldn't be that far off the pace in only 3 or 4 laps. Through turn number 3 and 4, you can see there is the 18. He'll be the first car to go a lap down once this freight train catches him. So have a look at the order. It's Miller, Aylett, then Best, Trevor Ware, Steve Stewart, Bill Miller. In that order, of course, Danny Miller and Bill Miller, no relation at all. Any relationship they have is they both pilot these V8 Super Sedans at a rapid rate. Through turn number 3 and 4. To make that 1 and 2, they're down there now. The track going off a little bit. It's a bit one lane. The 38 of Tony Howlett just brought down the caution. So the 2 of Danny Miller to lead away. Ken Blaylock second, then the 32 of Shane Best. You can see the track, as I said, has gone away a little bit. All the cars diving straight to the bottom. Has dried out considerably since our last heat race. You can see the track a little bit shiny, a little bit black. It's taking a bit of rubber, especially down there in turn number 4 and also turn 2. There's Colin Neville in the 71, the Mazda RX-8, dicing hard with the current South Aussie champion Bill Miller as they go through 3 and 4. Past the Speedway City time clock. It's still Danny Miller. Ken Blaylock in position number 2. Then the 32 of Shane Best. Not too often we have a 30-lap feature race for the Super Sedans here at Speedway City. Most of the track championship rounds over 20 or 25. So this one a bit of a special event. Will require the drivers to be thinking quite a bit. Of course, also stamina will come into play. To muscle one of these race cars around a track like this takes a lot of effort. Driven one of these cars in the past and they are beastly machines to manoeuvre. Through turn number 1 and 2, it's still Danny Miller in the number 2 machine. The number 9 out of Western Australia, Campbell Ayler. Then the 32 of Shane Best. They just basically nose to tail at the moment. As I said, each one of these cars is just running around the bottom. They don't want to go just up slightly. The rest of the freight train will just drive through if there's no track up there on the highest of the race. You can see there's a bit of heavy moisture or a bit of darker racetrack on the bottom of the speedway, and that's where they're trying to run around. Had the caution lights, so on the restart all the cars must pass the orange cone situated on the front chute. Lucky not too many cars out of this one. We're still in the car number 1 down there. See it on the track. I think this one of Robbie Marchant parked down there as well, so a couple of cars out during that caution period. There's 18 of Steve Johnson further back in the 5 of Trevor Ware. So Ware must have brought out the caution. He's been sent to the tail. Of Andrew Leach. Very consistent run as always. The driver out of the Barossa Valley in his Chevrolet Camaro. There's the 5 for Trevor Ware trying to fight his way back. He's cut a pass on the 18 of Johnston and also the 34 of Kim Layson in his Chevrolet Camaro. Most of these cars, of course, American body styles, although we do have the option. Of course, is running the Holden Commodore and also the Ford Falcon. And the Holden Monaro. In fact, Steve Stewart, the only one of the drivers here tonight taking the option of running the Australian body style. Danny Miller continues to lead in his Pontiac Grand Prix, which is basically the body style of choice right across the country. Through turn number 3 and 4 they run. It is still Dan Miller, then the 9 of Campbell Ayler. The car is pretty well strung out now as we look further back in the pack. There's the 5 of Trevor Ware trying to work that high side, but you can see the car was very sideways, very loose. Didn't seem to have the traction required to cut a pass on the 69 of Andrew Leach. As I speak, he tries to do so again. Down the back chute into turn number 3 and 4. The car is very sideways. You can see it's kicking up a lot of dust on the high side of the racetrack. He might get it done this time, but he'll just slot straight back to the inside as soon as he's put the pass on Andrew Leach. As our leaders are coming out of turn number 4, it's still Dan Miller doing it nicely in the number 2. He's driving for car owner, well, his father, Dennis Miller, who has been a long time AMCA national pilot. Of course, also his brother, Michael Miller, former Australian AMCA national champion as well, possibly looking to move up into the Super Sedan ranks in seasons ahead. Has been spending a fair bit of time crewing for Shane Best over this last season. Through turn number 3 and 4. Oh, the 38 of Howland has spun right in front of our leader. And you saw the reflexes there from the Danny Miller machine. He just threw the car right, just avoided contact. Oh, we've lost Ken Belalet on this restart. Can you believe it? The Western Australian who was running inside the top two has now parked it on the infield. I think he's got some suspension damage on the number 9 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. That's rotten luck. He put on a great show, and it was great to have the Western Australian here to make the Firewood Derby a bit more of a national flavoured event. It's left the South Australians up in front. Dan Miller in car number 2, Shane Best in the 30s, who's been very impressive this season. Fresh out of the modified sedan ranks. When Shane Best bought this car, Bill Miller told me that Shane will be fast in this race car, and he's proving that was quite correct. He's been very impressive, very fast ever since his debut in the Super Sedans. Ran the National Series, finished 11th against Australia's best Super Sedan pilots in the National Super Sedan Series that had events in Queensland, Victoria, South Australia. Representing the state superbly, and he's doing it very nicely again here. There's our leader, Danny Miller in car number 2. The track really has gone away considerably now. 30 laps from these V8 Super Sedans. These big wide tyres really does take the moisture out of the racetrack. Through turn number 3 and 4. Once again, Dan Miller in the Batmobile, doing it very nicely, just feathering the throttle. Because if you jump on the gas too hard in these sort of conditions, all you do is loop it around. So the 3 Pontiac Grand Prix at the front of the field. Dan Miller, Shane Best, and also Trevor Ware. The lap's starting to wind down here in the JD Couriers Fireball Derby for Super Sedans here at Speedway City. Has been a great event, and will be on the calendar again next season. One to really look forward to. Out of turn number 4, our leader is now under some serious attack. Shane Best knows the laps are starting to wind down. It's now or never for the 32 as they go down through turn number 1 and 2. The number 2 machine of Danny Miller will just have to hug that bottom side and hope that he doesn't make a mistake. He's going to force Shane Best to go around the outside in these late stages of the JD Couriers Fireball Derby. In fact, there's the checkered flag. Dan Miller takes the win, the 32 of Best in second, and Trevor Ware in third.